In the last video, we saw that Entity Framework Core tracks all the queries. So Entity Framework Core starts tracking the moment you retrieve those entity. If an entity is tracked, any changes detected in the entity will be posted to the database when we save the changes. So by default, the behavior is that any entity that you retrieve will be tracked. The example here, you can see the change to the book will be deleted and persisted through the database when we save the changes. We already saw that in action in the last video. In the example here, you can see the change to the book will be detected and persisted through the database when we will save the changes. We already saw that in action in the last video. But the main question is, what if you do not want the tracking feature? Like when you are retrieving the list of all of the books to be displayed on the screen, we are not going to modify anything directly there. So why do we track that? Tracking requires extra resources and we do not like wasting our resource. The answer is very simple. You can always set any query that you are retrieving as no tracking, and Entity Framework Core will not track those queries. No tracking query are quite useful when the results are only used for read-only purposes. They are quicker to execute because there is no need to set up the change tracking information. As you can see in the bottom here, all we have to do is write as no tracking on the DB set. So let me see that in action. We will switch back to the code here. And when we were retrieving all the categories here, if you noticed, it was tracking about 17 items. On categories, we will add as no tracking, and we need to add Microsoft.EntityFramework.Core using statement. With that configured, let me restart the application. This time when we click on category, we hit here, let me press F10, entries, it is 0 right now, and we press F10. If we refresh this, you can see the count is still 0. That basically shows that the categories are not being tracked. And that is exactly what we want, because we are returning back to the view where we are only displaying those categories. So there is no need to track that, because on this page we will not be updating anything at all. Now if in your application you want everything to be set as no tracking, that could also be done where we are adding the DB context. Right here we can also say option.use query tracking behavior and set that to be no tracking. I personally do not see a use case to disable the tracking on all the queries, but for some reason, if the code that you are writing is only responsible for retrieving data, you can of course do that as well. But I will comment that out. That is not what we want to accomplish. With that, let me continue from the next video.